Joining us in the studio today is David Green, Vice President of Strategy, Products and Offerings at Lynk Co. David plays a central role in shaping the company's product portfolio and connected experience, always with a focus on growth, innovation and customer value. With a background at Volvo Cars and products like Lynk Co's subscription model, he is about making mobility more accessible, sustainable and user-friendly. I'm your host, Kaj Leissner, Agency Director at Stendahls, and this is Karin Engdahl, Brand Director, IO. Together with David, we'll explore how experience gaps happen and why they matter and how to close them for good. David, do you think the car industry will be disrupted if a car brand will manage to implement lots of self-driving taxis all over the place in scale?
I do, yes. That would be huge. Yeah, I mean, car brands are sort of fixated on one car per person, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
If someone put car sharing in, would you really want to own a car that could drive itself? I don't know. Yeah, big impact.
Or would you have loved to be that brand?
That would be fun. It's always nice to be the one doing the disruption, isn't it? Yeah. Being ahead of the chaos. Yes. I'd love to do it.
It's good. Let's talk about experiences. When was the last time you had a really great experience that completely lived up to its promise?
They come few and far between, don't they? I think maybe the problem here is a really good experience you might not notice, right? To actually spot it, then it has to be something outstanding. Yeah, my favorite, and it cost me a fortune over time, but I had an American Express card. And I traveled from a bar in Ireland to a wedding in Cancun. And somewhere between those two things, I lost my wallet. Probably more to do with the bar in Ireland than the trip. And when I turned up in Cancun, I had no credit cards, no money, nothing. And I phoned all my banks and they were absolutely no problem. We'll replace your card. But of course, it was going to take 2 weeks to get it to Mexico. I phoned American Express and they said, not a problem, we'll send someone to the airport. They'll meet you at the airport, bring you to our office, we'll give you a card and some cash to tide you through.
Wow.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
That was fantastic.
How many have you told that story to?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
It's a strong story, but let's go to the opposite. When did you have an experience that really fell short?
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of normal life, isn't it? I mean, you know, when things don't turn up when you order them off the internet, or, you know, it's not what you think you requested, or, you know, generally speaking, we sort of bounce through on mediocre, I think, too much of the time. We expected that all of this sort of digital innovation and the internet and user experience being crafted out of a program instead of a person would mean that everything was brilliant. Now, generally speaking, it's not the internet that gives you the best experience. It's a little person in a boutique who knows their product or wants to give you great service. It's often the human.
And knows you.
That knows you, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Fantastic. So great to have you here, David. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I work for Lynk Co, innovative and creative, future-focused mobility car brand. I'm responsible for strategy, product and offer. So a little hand in all the fun stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic. What's your background?
Well, I sort of started in IT and technology, moved through into sort of customer service and experience, and then ended up where I really wanted to be in the automotive industry. I found myself eventually in Volvo, and that's how I ended up moving to Gothenburg. And from Volvo, of course, Lynk Co.
Fantastic. So we met a few times and had some really inspiring and interesting discussions, you and me. And I felt quickly that you and me, we should do this together and we should record something and do something to show the world. We're constantly trying to find the great thinkers and brains to talk to, and you are one of them. So let's have this podcast episode with you and start from somewhere. And I think let's talk about technology adoption. And let's do it the reality check way. I mean, does it really work? Is it really something to it? Because that's when you and me had our greatest kind of times. I quoted him before, Brian Chesky from Airbnb, and he say that AI will take much longer time than people believe, but the impact and the change will be so much greater than what anyone thinks. How do you experience this in mobility?
AI in mobility or just mobility in general?
Yeah, AI in AI in mobility.
Good. I don't know how long he expected AI to take to be adopted, so I haven't got a frame of reference. Certainly in our experience, it's here already and sneaking in and becoming part of everything slowly, right?
Yeah.
You don't sort of quite spot it, but it's there. I mean, just the simple things like internet searches are now replaced by asking Copilot or chat a question, writing a document. Again, we're using AI, creating presentations, images, things like that. It's there. Moving it across to the car, I think I've said to you before, this seems like the obvious place for AI assistant. Right? My logic, at least at the moment in a car, you're supposed to be holding the steering wheel and staring out of the window, right? On that basis, then the voice can be a very useful tool. And the problem we sort of have at the moment is that it's a bit staccato and a bit hit and miss sometimes, With generative AI in the car, then you can have a conversation, yeah, sure, but you can make the mistakes in the question. Right? So at the moment you can set a destination by asking. That's okay. Pretty reliable. But you can't really adapt it very easily or say, can you get me to the destination, but can you do your best to avoid the toll cameras? Or what's the quickest route on a day like today? None of that sort of complexity.
It's not a real conversation.
No,
it's
exactly.
Instructions.
Yes.
Military instructions.
That's right. And you almost learn to ask the questions rather than just asking, So in that case, that sort of experience would be fantastic. And then where can you step off? I mean, the average journey to work is about 30 minutes in the car. Some people a lot more. What could you do? Could you read your emails? You can almost read your text messages at the moment, but it does tend to read out all the headers and all of the people CC'd. But if you could say, summarize the emails, tell me if there's anything I really need to focus on when I get into the office, that sort of thing. I need to book a meeting. Can you find me a meeting with, all of these things that you could do whilst you're driving would be fantastic right now if we had it.
Is that functionality that's integrated in the car? Or is the sender more the tech companies or the infrastructure you're working with in your office? For instance, the app connected to your car, your office app, your Copilot app. Is it that one you're talking to, or is it some in-car feature?
From a user perspective, who cares? What we want, and this actually is where the technical challenge can come. What we want is seamless across different platforms. We don't necessarily know that that's what we want, but when it doesn't work, it's because it's not seamless across many platforms. I give you a great example. If you want to be able to say, could you turn the temperature up, open the sunroof and put the back window down, that's very car, right? And then potentially Copilot doesn't have access to the car. But you don't want to have to start up a different application to then say, how high is the Eiffel Tower? If that's what you want to know in the car. But, those two different sort of platforms are getting in the way of a seamless experience. So from the user, you basically want one contact for everything. Let's put it into, and this was brilliant. I won't name the company unless you really want me to, but I'm sitting in a briefing room. We've been in a conference all day. It's a tech company. And it's the end of the day, and we're all tapping away on devices that we've borrowed to catch up on our emails and things. Okay, that's the scenario. And I say, in that scenario, what time should I leave to go to the airport? And someone says, don't ask me, ask the digital assistant, okay? And just to be awkward, I asked the digital assistant exactly what I'd asked the person. What time should I leave to go to the airport? And believe it or not, the assistant said, let me just check your calendar. Right, your flight is leaving from Terminal 2 at 3 p.m. The traffic at the moment is fairly heavy. You should probably book a taxi straight away. Would you like me to do that for you? Now we've gone across, my calendar. We've looked up the airport, we've checked the traffic, and we're going to book a taxi. And if you think about it, just doing it yourself, that's a burden. If you were doing it with an internet browser, find the airport, look up your flight, check when your flight's, all of that thing done in one go, it was like the future is here. This is amazing. It's just saved me so much time. I give it me. I want it. I'll buy it. Of course, it was a trick. It wasn't real. I mean, this was quite a while ago. Oh. And they just knew that everybody at the end of the day eventually says, what time should I leave to the airport? So they'd set it up, okay? But It was a really good thing to do because then you really see how this could make your life so much easier.
Are we almost there?
I think we're closing in on it, yes. I mean, we're just that small step away from having, across many platforms, an assistant that will help you navigate. It's just not quite working, do you know? But it feels close.
But there's so many possibilities here.
Yeah.
How do you know what to focus on? How do you work with customer insights and really understanding what the users are like?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that question. One of the things we did when we started Lynk Co was try and break some of the sort of norms and barriers, right? And one of the norms and barriers in the automotive, of course, is the sort of R&D process. I mean, it's very expensive. Yeah. I mean, developing a car is hugely complex and expensive. And so, it's very driven by, I suppose, technology first, maybe not consumer first. So one of the things we did was put an application in all of our cars right from the beginning, and it's still there. And it means that people can send us a message, right? You press the button, you record a short message, and then it turns up on our desks as text. So the answer to your question is we really lean in on what it is the customers want. And that has been such a fantastic journey of what on earth are they talking about to, oh, of course, why didn't we think of that? And I'm not sure that would be legal. And, it's really...
It's instant feedback functionality.
Absolutely.
Sorry, continue.
No. The trick is, some of the time, of course, you get quite a clear thing, okay? I think that the light headlining is a bad idea because it glares on the dashboard or something. Nice and clean, and you can say, right, I understand it, you can check it and then make a change, make the headlining dark. Good. Some of it's very vague, or you get a piece of feedback that is clear in understanding what it is, but you think potentially the real solution lies somewhere else. And that has been the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge just to get the message. My engine has started was one that we got more than once.
Your engine has started?
My engine has started. Yeah.
Okay.
Just that. My engine has started.
My engine has started.
Yeah, I know. More than when you hear some things once, then you can go, bah, who knows, who cares? But if you get something like that more than once, you get it a few times.
My engine has started.
My engine has started. Or I've had my car for a while now, and the engine has started. Because this turns up as text, right?
Huh?
And we thought at the beginning, and we have changed it now, that no one would give us feedback if it wasn't anonymous. So we had no way to to respond. Okay, so yeah, my engine has started. I've had the car for a while. My engine has started. What is it with my engine? It started all of a sudden unexpectedly. It's kept coming.
Wouldn't it have been wonderful to having a reply function,
Yes.
so you could reply anonymously to the person?
Yes.
I'm glad your engine has started.
Yes, it would. That might be in the list of things that we call a bit too spooky to be fun. Yeah. Let's go with this one. But hopefully it helps explain. There's lots of things we get that are confusing like that. That was our most favourite because it was so strange. I mean, it's a car. It's got an engine. What's weird about it starting? Turns out that people had been, this was our first car, driving it was plug-in hybrid, fully electric, all the time. So our first car had a range of 70 kilometres, roughly speaking, depending on the weather. And people had clearly been having journeys that were there and back less than 70 kilometres. So day in, day out, they drive the car, it's electric. And they never use it as anything other than electric. And eventually, the engine has to start because the fuel and the oil, there's a safety mechanism that kicks in and refreshes it. And that's why, they say, my engine has started, And that piece of information then makes you think, oh, crikey, maybe more people, how much range should we put in a car so that everybody can drive a car electric and just have that peace of mind of a petrol car. So and then that piece of feedback leads us to develop different products. And we've just launched the 08 with, of course, huge range, 200 kilometers, more than actually people need. Yeah. But 2 is a much bigger number. But that comes directly from confusing customer feedback. Yeah, and it's the best way. But you are right. You do need the dialogue. It turns out that it's really hard without the dialogue. Yeah.
But this is interesting. So we started talking about the gaps in experience in fulfilling the promise, all the way to feedback. Who it can really help. Is feedback some kind of key to success?
I really think it is. Yes, because I'm talking from the car perspective, right? And cars are really complicated. I think genuinely, they are really complicated. Apart from the sort of mechanics of it, now, they're computing devices, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, there's much more functionality than there used to be. Wind a window down and turn the radio on has become, search the internet. So with that level of complexity, you need to either get it perfectly right first time, right? Which obviously is a very hard thing to do. Or you need to be able to work out what's wrong and fix it quick. Yeah. So, now with what we call OTA, over-the-air updates, being able to change software and having interaction with screens, you can finish a job and then update the car based on customer feedback, which turns out to be really, really important because all the things you thought, even from all of the testing, and testing is a professional job, right? Even with all of that, you can get onto the market and say, this is what we got wrong. But if you don't hear it, you can't change it. It all looks right on paper. When it hits reality, that's when everything can go wrong.
But I guess there's also a balance here. Like if you only use customer feedback and that kind of input, you would become quite reactive, I guess. Like people might not even know that they wanted an iPad. That's sort of like...
True.
How do you balance that?
I think that I sort of know how to challenge that one. If every time you create something new, right, it's going to look weird to people, right? Honestly, all of our cars, as you know, can be shared, right? So the owner of the car can share it out to other people, okay, for money. Now, that requires some technology development, yeah? you can imagine the amount of obstacles you have to go through to make a car shareable. Yeah, the amount of people that can have an objection. It's not just about doing the technology. You've got to sort out driving license, legality, insurance. Every meeting, you're going to run into someone that says, do people really want to share their car before we invest in building you an insurance product? If you haven't got the confidence that you can get feedback, understand how it works, fix it, move on, then it makes innovation harder in a way. So it's an enabler, I believe, to innovation. Of course, you do point out something very important. Was it Henry Ford? Henry Ford said...
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. If you ask your customers...
They'll make a faster horse.
Exactly.
That was the reference I was thinking of.
Spot on. Yeah. I mean, it is true. I mean, you have to be able to keep an open mind and try silly stuff. Yeah. Otherwise, we would just be riding faster horses.
Yeah. And the feedback is only valuable if you can actually understand it and read it the right way.
Yes.
Not what they're telling you they want to have, but what they want to achieve or...
True. Yeah.
Obstacles. And add some portion of fantasy to it as well.
Well, I was going to say, yes. Do you know... and you're going to push me. I can't think of a really good usable example, but when we do brainstorming and someone at the beginning will say, there's no such thing as a bad idea, but everyone in the room sort of still has their bad idea radar running at full.
Constantly, yeah.
On the other hand, when it's sort of this anonymous feedback, you can be a little more relaxed about it and it teaches you a lesson. Every stupid idea could actually, could actually become something useful. And interesting. So, I think, there's no reason you can't do that in brainstorming as well. But, it somehow seems a bit harder sometimes to, really jump on everything anybody says. But as we go through these lists of crazy stuff, we try and...
Do you have any examples of crazy stuff that you actually implemented which became useful?
Useful is a trick.
Which seemed to be a bit crazy in the beginning or strange.
We do. Maybe not so weird, but we had a really good idea from someone to have a lockable storage box that for sharing, so you could put your stuff in it and lock it. Turned out to be really difficult to do, but then that led to a removable box. So instead of locking it, you can remove it. And that sort of left turn in the ideation was really, were good. Things like that. It's very hard to really implement these big sort of hardware changes in the car. But often crazy ideas become something. The first digital key was... The first digital key was designed for repossession, not car sharing. So, out of funny journeys, great stuff happens, I think.
But it's not all about creating great ideas in order to create great functionality. It's also about creating crazy stuff to get the word spreading.
Yeah. I'm going to pull you up a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So what you're sort of saying is you can make something that isn't very useful as long as it gets you noticed, right? That's a bit of an unfair way to...
No, that's okay.
Right.
I can accept that one.
Yeah. And sure, that's, if you want to get noticed, sometimes maybe it's a good idea. On the other hand, in the world we live in, people can see through it if it has no purpose or meaning, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, we've spoken about it before, is that if you want to do something for, let's say, sustainability, it has to be sustainable. You have to be able to keep doing it.
You need to be serious.
Right. But if it costs you more than it saves you, as soon as the money runs out, then it stops, right? So I think you have to aim for things that people want and use that generates revenue so that you can keep doing it and it adds a purpose.
Yeah.
And if you find that it doesn't, then probably stop it yourself and put your energy into something that works, you know?
But the purpose could be different. It could be fun or
Sure.
experience
Sure.
or creating emotions.
Yeah. We have a little functionality that we're building at the moment, which we call Hey Honk. And such a silly little thing, but actually
Yeah.
maybe. So again, suggestion from someone in car. And it is this idea that if you live in a busy town, then an electric car can sneak up behind people, right? But you don't want to get them out of the way using the horn because that scares people. So you want something like you want a quieter horn, yeah? And then you can make a quieter horn, but that's a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've been driving around Gothenburg with a little speaker on the outside of the car, testing different sounds for their effectiveness on A, not surprising people, B, not having something that they think is just the background noise, right? So that you need to recognize that someone wants your attention, and C, not have it really annoying. Okay. So yeah, I mean, do it yourself. You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a multicultural town, so English is normally going to work, but excuse me would be the very English way to do it, but not everyone would recognize it. Yeah, but then people think that someone is, you know, don't react. Yeah. So we've been having a lot of fun with that one.
What did you come up with?
Well, we've still got a long list, actually.
All right, so it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. My view, and this maybe isn't borne out by full statistics, but my view, the things that are out of place are the best. So a horse clip-clop, yeah? Or something like that, or a sound from the cartoons, you know? Wah, wah, wah. People don't expect it, so then they react, and then they see that you're waiting to... And they smile. So that's the three things, you know?
That's great.
Or a very close copy of the ice cream car, like the Hemglass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone will be.
That's true. We didn't...
But you will disappoint the children.
But you're happy until you see it's a car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, upsides and downsides.
It sounds like an amazingly fun product to do.
It is a lot of fun. Yes.
But I think in business, people's love for emotion and experience and storytelling is so underrated. Because everyone wants to just be boring and serious and professional and business everywhere. Instead, if you look at a lot of the successful brands, they do implement a lot of these aspects. Yeah. Not just humor, but other aspects of emotional or experiences as well. So I think this is a great thing to invest in. And more companies should invest more in creating fun or interesting experiences. Yeah. And this is one way of doing it and doing it great. So coming from unnecessary things is actually becoming necessary.
Agreed, yeah. You know, after our last lunch, I carried on the conversation with the internet. I had a long walk, and I just carried on and carried on talking about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
With the
Copilot. Yeah. And I'm not saying that Copilot was more interesting than you, but at least it had access to the whole of the internet.
It did
answer my questions.
For sure. So what did you come up with?
Well, actually, so you might not remember having this conversation, but do you remember when we were talking about Back to the Future?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
So we were talking. I was being a little bit grumpy and complaining. Well, first of all, let's put it this way. Michael J. Fox, he's in the first film, right? It's 1985. That's what I checked with Copilot, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's how I started the conversation. It's 1985 and goes back to 1955. And if you ever watch that film, he's gone back, way back in time. I mean, to the old-fashioned days when everything was different and basically black and white and stuff, you know? Total difference. The problem that we discovered was that 1985 is like 40 years ago from today,
Yeah.
right?
You know?
And in a way, if you go back to 1985, it's not that far in the past from the way it feels, right? We still wear the same clothes, listen to much of the same music, do the same sort of things. Whereas the promise from 1985 was today we would be living on Mars and having, you know,
Our own
augmented
aircrafts flying around.
exactly and flying skateboards and
Fusion energy.
fusion energy and do you remember the shark? You know, like we'd have digital in the real, and you know, all of those promises. Sneakers that tie themselves up. I know that one has been done. This flying skateboard has sort of been done, but you know, we're not living in the future. Was the complaint I had.
While the years just before, kind of 30, 40 years before 1985 was full of innovation and things changing in the world. We went to the moon and everything.
Exactly, and had supersonic aircraft, and we're not on the moon anymore, and we don't have supersonic passenger planes.
Yeah.
So we're going backwards, it felt.
Yeah, it felt. So what did you come up with in your long walk and conversation with the Copilot after?
Well, if I'm really honest with you, I think Copilot was making excuses. And the funniest thing was, but there is more stuff. You've got mobile phones and applications. Yeah, that's a big one. That was 2007. That's still a long time ago. But yeah, okay, that's a good one. And the internet, yes, we've got we had computers in the 80s. It's about the same. And then said, well, you've got AI companions that you can talk to, which was a tough one to argue with, seeing as that's what I was doing. But no, maybe we'll be on Mars one day soon, he said. Yeah, still tomorrow.
So, okay. So everyone's jumping on the new technology and talks about it like this is the savior of the world, this is the future, this is everything, and everything is going to change in just a few years. We also had a talk about this, about the technological development cycle, and those cycles always comes in. My theory is they come in 20 years. And it did when the first kind of mass-produced cars came. It took 20 years from the first models coming out to the streets until it was mature and a big mass market and big sell. And during these years, there are two curves connecting. One is the technological development, which is linear, and the other one is S-curve, which is people's kind of adoption.
Yeah.
Meaning that in the beginning, it goes very, very slow. And all of a sudden, after 10 years, after half this 20-year cycle, everything comes at the same time. Everyone wants to jump on this train. And since that S-curve is passing through the linear technological development curve, people are getting disappointed because it's not really there. And there are examples after examples. You can take mobile phones, for instance, or e-commerce, which actually came out in the 1920s. But at the pandemic, everything was completely finished. But just 10 years ago, when everyone tried to do the shopping online, people were disappointed because you had to pay for returns. Even the big ones required you to pay for it. Do you remember it? Just 10 years ago or 15 years ago now. But at the pandemic, it was done. It was finished. Everything worked out, obviously. And electrical cars, the first kind of mass-produced serious electrical cars came out 2012, 13 something, with the Tesla and the BMW and those. And now we're roughly 10 years later on, and everyone wants to buy electrical cars, but the charging networks, the charging anxiety and everything, it's underwhelming. And maybe at 2030, 2032, 33 something, maybe it will be good. Or is it relevant, these 20 years adoption cycles? Or everyone keeps saying things are the development is so much faster today than it ever has been. But I don't believe it, because I think the human adaptation is still as slow as it ever has been.
We've spoken about this before, and I can't argue much, because if you do but look back, it does seem like there's a 20-year development cycle. But I'm not sure it's mathematical in any sense like that. I think the trick is always not to do the technology for the technology's sake, or at least if you're going to do it, push the envelope, carry on, great. But it's when it becomes truly beneficial. If you improve people's experience, that's the magic. So if the technology can improve people's experience, it'll be adopted straight away, is my theory.
Unless it costs $1 million.
Okay, it needs to, be affordable as well. That's a very fair point. Yes, price needs to come down. Let's take the mobile phone. Maybe you're right. When it was a suitcase or a brick, not convenient and expensive. But they're still, best part of $1,000, and everybody's got one. I think it's because it's so useful. What would you do without it? We would have to have things like maps and credit cards and tickets and
phone booths.
And phone booths, yes, and 2p pieces and sorry, very English reference, but you know what I mean. It now is so beneficial that everybody has one, right? There's a little bit of that. Electric cars is another weird example. And being that it's my sort of area, and being that we get customer feedback, let me dig a little. Electric cars were sort of the first car, almost. I should have looked this up. Maybe if you were Copilot, I could just ask directly. Like back in the 20s or whatever, I think in America, the first cars were all electric or something. The battery car has not been a new technology. It existed. All milk floats in the UK used to be electric forever, right? Why? Well, because it fit the purpose better. But the petrol engine fit another purpose better, which is the sort of freedom it gave. Yeah, you can stop and go really quickly. Now, we sort of took that issue to be a range issue. But if you really lean a little bit in on the customer feedback, it's not. It's the stop and go issue. I don't want to be interrupted. Yeah. And we certainly see it with that first car. It tells you more than you think you hear. Yeah. People had bought a car that had an engine when they didn't need a car with an engine, and clearly their range anxiety was zero because they only ever did 30 kilometers in a go, right? So therefore you don't have a range problem. Okay. But of course, yes, they do, because maybe 1 or 2 times a year they go on a holiday or something, right?
The ski trip.
The ski trip, yes. So they're sort of buying for that. And that, then your issue comes in. They go on the ski trip and there's not enough charging, or it takes too long. They don't want to, So then you have the barriers. And barriers for people are often more about convenience than money. Can I say that and get away with it? Yeah. That's a terrible thing to say, because, we don't all have limitless money for sure. But it's amazing how much people will pay for convenience.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Your car sits, as we often say in our company, unused for 95% of the time. It's actually more for most people. So it sits there doing nothing. And yet we all pay those monthly fees to have the car.
But it's amazingly convenient to have it there.
Yeah. We don't pay for the car necessarily. We pay for freedom of mobility, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yeah, partly. But we did a study alongside some other people in Gothenburg where we looked at whether we could integrate different transport modes. And it pretty much died on the fact that everybody, I mean, literally everybody said, if I have to change more than once, I'm not interested. So this multimodal thing, we couldn't get it off the ground. No one wants to be multimodal. They just want to go from A to B without stopping. That's the problem to solve. Not how do I seamlessly go between a train and a bus and a tram and a scooter. No, I don't want to. No. I just want to get there. So when that convenience means that if you have to get 3 buses, it's better to have a car, I guess, you know?
While the substitution, like taxis, with the taxi, you could technically get from one point to another point in a very convenient way. You don't even need to drive. But they're expensive.
Yeah, they are. I've tried to do the maths here in Gothenburg, but a German guy I once saw on stage was very proudly saying that he took a taxi everywhere and hired a car to go on holiday, and it was cheaper than his previous car. I don't know what kind of car he had. Maybe,
exactly. Yeah. Rolls-Royce.
Yeah. But I mean, look, your frame of reference, though, taxis are quite expensive in this town, aren't they? You know, not in all towns. But anyway, if you could, maybe you would work out the business case. But then what we're doing is that it's my 365-day concept rather than my 7-day. You know, every day of the week it's probably fine, but being able to just go when you want to, I think, is what we have cars for.
Yeah. Okay, so we covered 2 facts, the convenience fact and the cost fact of having a car.
Yeah, and they're in balance, you know?
They're in balance, but there's a third fact as well, and that's a status one, the brand that connects to you. Because I know people who wants to have specific car brands because it reflects who they are.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of them that I would consider, but for sure it is like all brand choices reflects who you are, right? So brands are important, definitely.
I think brands for sure are, yeah. And yes, it is true that if you drive a Ferrari, you probably do it partly because people will see you driving a Ferrari, right? On the other hand, few people drive a Ferrari. If you take many of the other brands, a lot of it is what the brand stands for, not just in status, but in terms of trust and reliability, right? Especially when it comes to cars, because, you know, yes, if it was the same price and you could just choose, maybe everyone would go for a Mercedes. I don't know, you know, but or if you're a more sporty, but most people are saying, okay, I'm going to invest this money. I depend on it. Is it going to be trustworthy? Is it going to break down? Is it expensive to maintain? Is it, you know, it's that whole, can I trust the brand as well as does the brand make me look good in front of my friends and neighbors?
But there are examples, very interesting examples. South Korean car brand, one of the biggest in the world right now, or at least one of the most popular in the world. They really revamped their design and actually looks really good.
Yeah.
And they are really popular.
Yes.
Not because they are perceived as luxury or not even near a competitor to luxury German brands, but more like the opposite. Yes. Because in the past they've been cheaper than other brands, so the people felt smart having them. And now when they are as expensive and even or almost as the premium brands, people still want to go to them because they still feel smarter to take on that brand instead of the German expensive one or the German classical premium ones. So in this case, the premium factor is one factor, but the smartness factor of having a smart, intelligent, fresh, modern brand could also be an aspect to actually go with.
But smartness is also status. That's a big status move.
But exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I don't disagree. That brand you mentioned also, of course, focused down very heavily on, trust and reliability. I think they were the first, I don't know, but the 7-year warranty,
Yeah.
it was a big thing to make a very quality product for them. So I still think it is the two things.
Yeah, it is. And I have a friend in Stockholm, and he's much like us, very like a visionary kind of person. Works in with tech and so on. And he drives his Lynk Co, and he loves it.
Good to hear.
Yeah, he loves it because it's
Thanks for
it's
the
a
plug.
smart and it's funny and it's an affordable brand. It has all the great aspects for him and his family. And when there was only the 01 out there, he was really he upgraded it several times in the subscription thing, and he just waited for the next models to come, so he could switch to something new and fun. And so very loyal. And I mean, even you have a very strong brand in that sense, I think.
Good to hear you say it.
Yeah,
I
think
really
so.
appreciate it.
And he's kind of an urban guy living in Stockholm and lives this active lifestyle and so on. So resonates.
Is that the persona that you are sort of designing the car towards? The active guy in Stockholm? Or what kind of personas do you have?
That's fun. We've done different personas, haven't we? And you sort of write them on a piece of paper and then see. I mean, I'm going to lean in a little bit and say Lynk Co is made up of a bunch of people who are a bit that way, Focus on sort of, quality and value. So, I mean, to say that it's cheap is totally wrong. I mean, let's be honest, these are expensive products. But to at least make people think that they get great value for the money that they spend. And because we're all a little bit weird, it seeps in, doesn't it? It's harder
Weird
to keep it
how?
out.
How are you weird?
It's a very unusual team inside Lynk Co when you compare it to what you would imagine, the grey, dusty corridors of a car company would look like, You've been to the offices, but it's not about that. I think it's about, we were given a blank sheet of paper and asked what you would fill it with. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And that momentum just carried on, that freedom to try and to get it wrong and then fix it. That is a different way to go about stuff. If you hire, people who are developers rather than, I suppose, car forever people, they don't really understand that it takes 10 years to develop a car from zero to delivery, right? That's far too long for them. Just by the time they launch it, it's boring. Imagine working on a game for 10 years and then launching it, This isn't going to happen. So they're much faster pace. And then when you start thinking about things like that, just picking the chipset, right? If you plan it for 10 years ahead, then you can imagine what a chip would do in 10 years, but then you price it for today, you could never afford it. But if you're faster on development time and you're doing things in virtual reality and you can speed to market, then you can get better chips. If you've got better chips, you can do more stuff. If you can do more stuff and you've got a better chip, you better do some stuff. Otherwise, what was the point of getting the chip, And so it carries on. And I think we've managed to find, I'm not saying we've got everything right, but we've managed to find a good balance of understanding that people like different, And I once, as part of our processes, tried to find out how people saw themselves. In other words, do you see yourself like a BMW? Do you see yourself like And no, most people say, no, I'm different to other people. I'm a bit weird. I wouldn't tell anyone, but I am. Most people are individual and unique inside, hidden from the world. And I think they respond quite well to a sort of unique, quirky, innovative, little bit, challenging Lynk Co. this is got to be one of my favorites. So the first car, we said, and you go back to the sort of the discussions there, we're sitting around a table like this. So look, people need to recognize the car, right? See it on the road and go, that's one of those, right? So one of the elements from design were some very nice alloy wheels, quite big, 20 inches, very good, look nice. And one set of them is blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very recognizable.
So we went, you put the blue wheels on the car, everybody will spot it, right? Good. And then we maybe went a bit far with the blue trim, but then you find that you've divided opinion. So you're getting the feedback, which is, I don't like the blue wheels. I love the car, but I don't like the blue wheels. You make this car without the blue wheels, right? Good. And we listened. And this was a hard one to let go of, okay? It was, because it was our thing.
Yeah.
We changed a lot before we changed the blue wheels. But when we did the big refresh that we did on the 01, a huge refresh, most of what we changed couldn't be seen, right? And that's really tough. You're dealing with all of the customer feedback and you're going to launch a car that looks exactly the same. We knew that would be a challenge. So, of course, we went to the wheels and we said, well, everybody complains about the blue wheels. So we changed them and we looked at what people had said. Everyone that had an opinion said black. And then we looked at what people did to their own cars and they made them black. So we made the wheels black. And do you know the first comment I got?
Where are the blue?
Where are the blue wheels?
No.
That's from someone that wants to stick out. Like I guess there's two types of customers here. There's one that likes the car, and one that likes it because it sticks out. It's hard to cater to both, maybe.
Yeah. It is.
But one thing here is, of course, reflected to the personality of the brand.
Yeah.
The other aspect here is more positioning-wise. I think what I'm trying to see here is creative brand, creative car brand. Let's try to think creatively, or at least be a car brand for creative people. Smart, great value cars, and some creative thinking behind it.
Yes.
That's kind of an interesting position.
I'm a car brand for creative people I might take with me and use. That's
Please do.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Of course, the trick to navigate on that one is creative people tend to be quite smart. And smart people are not going to invest large amounts of money in something that isn't worth it. You need to both say creative and sometimes a bit fun and weird and wacky, and somehow get across that it's good quality and high specification and great value. Those two things to say at the same time are quite hard to get together. Yeah. And that's our danger, I think.
It is. But the price is also perception.
Yes.
So you can still...
Of course. But, I mean, any car is expensive. Our car is not cheap. It's great value. But how do you get that great value across?
Yeah.
That's a trick, especially when you got blue wheels.
Exactly. How to pivot between, or how to, when thinking about ideas and innovations in your brand, or in any brand, how to weigh between genuine value and kind of technological show-off, because there's lots of show-offs going on right now.
Yeah.
In different industries, of course. But if you're only going for genuine value, maybe you are becoming too conservative and boring.
Yeah.
And the opposite way around is getting unnecessary, quirky.
Yeah. Tricky. And if I say it like this, it sounds like we're genius visionaries. And of course, the reality day to day is not quite this clean. We have a vision of the future. And we sort of are not driving a straight line towards it necessarily. We're finding our way, but we know that. If we talk about that, either it's an empty promise because it's always tomorrow, or no one will understand. But we still have it, right? We have that vision. And then on the way to that vision, everything should make sense, be a step on the journey, right? For us. That's part of it. I think that gives us, at least me, that confidence that, you know, we're doing the right thing, even if sometimes we've gone off in the wrong direction, right? Cool. The second thing is, and here's a trick, that direct customer feedback is a safety net, right? If someone has said something is a good idea, then you can say, well, look, the public's saying it's a good idea. Let's do it. And if you didn't have that feedback, then you wouldn't necessarily know. So you wouldn't be quite so confident to try something out of the ordinary, you know? So I think it's been one of the most important pieces of the puzzle to have, and it's not the only way we get feedback. Of course, we do social media and we've got a website and, you know, an engagement center, you know, but getting invested in the dialogue, I think has paid off both in confidence and creativity and ideas and yeah.
What would happen if all big companies would work seriously and invested in feedback like you do? Would the world be a better place?
I have a suspicion it would be different, would change quicker, and probably much better. If only, though, it was as easy as that. You know?
But at least we could close some experience gaps.
Definitely, yeah. It is very difficult. I mean, again, I speak about the car, but if you can imagine if you sit in the driver's seat and look at the car, then the people that have developed the door handle are not the same people as developed the screen. You know, you have to communicate across lots of, you know, different moving parts to be able to influence the whole experience. And it's the same in many industries. You know, it's surprising you don't control all the moving pieces at the same time. And that's why it's tricky. And we at least learned that what people say is not necessarily what they mean. So you also have to...
You have to learn.
Yeah.
It's your thing about the horse again, isn't it? But you have to learn how to hear and not react.
And see how they behave,
Yeah.
not only what they say,
Exactly.
but actually like, say, you see it in so many ways. People are like, this generation talks about sustainability and then they buy cheap stuff from China and like, you say you want that, but then you behave like this. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to repeat myself, but I mean, how many times did I hear range anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't range anxiety. No one wants to drive 1,000 kilometers in one go. It's not part of their, well, I'm not buying it unless I can do 1,000 kilometers without stopping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was charging anxiety, you know?
Yeah.
And being able to get between those two things is not easy. I mean, not to use this one, it's not the only one, but you've multiple stakeholders. If all the customers are saying it's range anxiety, people say increase the range, you know? That's what happens. Standing there saying, I don't think it's, you know, it's tough.
How do you plan? How do you invest? Let's say that we have this 20 years kind of cycle. How do you make business plans, strategic plans in order to...
Yeah, I can only speak for me, really. but I'll try it out on you. I always think in pictures, sorry, but
Same.
I imagine it as as in a real gap, like in Wile E. Coyote, where there's like this chasm that's infinitely deep and you've got to get across, right? In a way, what you need to do is decide that this is where you want to be. And as much as you run and jump at it, you won't be able to make it. You just fall in the gap, right? Yeah. So you need to build out your bridge across it slowly. You need to set off on the journey, building a stable bridge that you can stand on, but still goes in that direction. Otherwise, you just go in a different direction, stay on the same side. So we try as much as possible to have a plan and a business model that works today, and we could move a lot further forwards if new technology turned up. You don't necessarily need to be the one to invent the technology. You just wait, Imagine our car sharing thing. So you've got the biggest obstacle, quite frankly. I have my car, actually, very clear one. There is a person near where I live that has a car shared. I could borrow it, but it's a bit far away. It's probably 15 minutes walk. Maybe not if I walk quickly, but that alone means that I have to plan better to borrow that car. Yeah. Imagine that car can do the 10-minute journey to my house, then I would...
By itself.
Yeah. Then I would definitely... It would be unquestionable. I would just... Yeah, that's of course what I would use. Yeah, I mean, it's just sitting there. It's only a couple of minutes away. As soon as I book it, it'll arrive, right? Brilliant. So, I mean, that would make car sharing amazing, and everyone would use it, I'm sure. Okay, so now car sharing 1.0 is a bit inconvenient for me because the guy that's sharing his car is a bit too far away because I don't live in town. 2.0, then it'll be fantastic. So we've built, it works today. I think we paid out so far about 1.4 million euros to people lending their car out. Now that means that people with a car have made their mobility cheaper. They've earned a share of 1.4 million euros, and people are able to use a car that they don't own. So they haven't had to invest in a car, right? So I can sit here and say with confidence, this adds value, right?
There's a big value in many ways.
Yeah.
Win-win-win.
Win-win-win. But if it was autonomous, it would be awesome. Then everyone would use it.
It's so interesting because, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the whole world spoke about self-driving cars.
Yeah.
And in CES, and it was the next big frontier, the revolution, everything was coming to self-driving cars. And all of a sudden, we got into a pandemic and recession and all the crises in a row, and everyone just wanted to basically look inwards and create quick profits, and nobody wanted to invest in greenfield anymore. And all the self-driving advancements has really kind of disappeared. Nobody's talking about it anymore, but you're getting, day by day, you're getting new features in your car, but nobody's really standing on the, nobody's really talking about it and bragging about it anymore.
Yeah.
This little thing that taking a car 15 minutes to you could be very slow and steady and safe. It could be a breaking point.
Yes.
In order to bridge.
Then it's a range issue, right?
Exactly.
When it's
you're right, and this is what we were just speaking about in terms of getting all of the technology and legislation and rules and customer experience and the money to invest in doing it all at the same time. Yes. So I think I say it that way because I know other people disagree with me and they might be right. But I think the barrier to autonomous cars is trying to mix autonomous cars, as we've spoken about before, with humans, right? If humans weren't allowed to drive cars, we could make them out of cardboard and straws, right? They don't bump into each other, We would not have congestion. We would have all electric vehicles. Charging isn't a problem anymore. Range is irrelevant. You know, everyone's mobility budget would have shrunk. It would be fantastic. But of course, we're back in that dead zone gap where how do you get from where we are to no one drives a car? It's quite a jump.
It's quite a jump.
Yeah.
It's not just 20 years, I think.
No.
It's
I mean, there should be a way of doing it. I think you may have said, you know, even just now, possibly there are some, maybe if bus lanes, you could have autonomous cars would reposition themselves. Now we're creating stuff as we go along. I haven't thought this through. It might not work. But, you know, the autonomous car doesn't drive you. It delivers itself to you in a bus lane. Now I'm stuck on the sharing. That might be a way to cross part of the gap. You know, you drive it, but it can follow a bus until it gets to you. Maybe. Something like that. But we need this is what I talk about, build the bridge. We need another part of bridge to keep the journey going forwards. And it isn't technology necessarily.
And from there on, you will find solutions to take you forward.
Exactly.
Piece by piece.
Yes. And sometimes going in the wrong direction, but you know, we can always go back and start again and zigzag our way through. Yeah.
Will the self-driving cars in cities come via the taxi way of doing it? Like the Tesla strategy, Waymo strategy, or will it become more from private cars?
I'm guessing that, I'm guessing it'll come from the Waymo side, but wouldn't it be nice if it was private cars?
Yeah, it would be lovely.
Well, let's be careful. I mean, do you know if you had to spend a lot of money to have a car sitting there, not doing anything, that could drive itself, but only did it when you wanted it, right? I don't think normal people... I mean, you know, let's go back in time. Take a city like London. Some people had their own carriage with their own horses in a stable in their house, right? And they would tell someone, get the horses ready to take me there. But those people were very few and far between. Most people took a trolley bus pulled by horses or a hansom carriage, if you've seen Sherlock Holmes. You know, they would use the transport network, okay? And I think very quickly, you know, you're not going to have the horse and carriage at your own house if you don't need it or have the space for it or could use that money to do something smarter. The reason then that I say, wouldn't it be fun if our cars could do it, is that so some people like me could own a robot that goes out and works for them. We all think of robots as having hands and a face, don't we, and doing the cooking at home. But the real robots are lawnmowers and vacuum cleaners.
Exactly.
Now I can have a car, for the first time, I can send a robot out to work for me.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I mean, possibly not the best solution to the problem, but it would be really cool if you had robots working for you.
Yeah.
I actually forgot the third aspect. The public transportation could also be a driver for the change, self-driving change. I mean, bus lanes.
I think it would. I mean, the perfect solution for a city would be to say, here is London transport, and it is. All transport is London transport. And at different times in different circumstances, you would take a different form of transport, right? Yeah. So in the commute, I mean, if you live in London, I have lived in London, you don't normally drive to work. Not just the traffic, but where do you park, right? It's a real thing. You can't park at the office unless, you know, you're very senior or lucky. So you get public transport. So that works. But coming back maybe late at night, you might want to be on your own, you know? And so I think a bus, the metro, different sizes of bus, some with 8 people, some with 12, some with, you know, whatever it is in a big 60, you know, that blended solution with a lot of thinking behind it to sort of load balance and cost optimize. And, you know, it's very cheap to take the bus in the morning, and it's equally cheap to take a single pod late at night, you know? That sort of thinking behind it could be like a huge solution. Imagine that. I mean, London themselves have said that congestion costs them billions.
Exactly.
Well, remove the congestion, that saves billions, and add a mobility solution that makes it the most attractive place to live and have a business. It wins, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Let's
so I
wrap
think
this up.
wrapping this up.
Any closing words from you? Great to have you here. Did you learn anything today?
I think always.
Yeah. What's your key takeaway from today?
I think why do you learn something? I think you learn something by having a conversation, having someone point out you're wrong, and having the chance to think about whether you are or not. You know, that sort of thing. If we can all do a bit of that, I think, you know, I may not admit that I'd learn or agree with you, but I might go away and implement what you said.
That's amazing. Sounds promising. So, Karin, what did you learn today?
I just love the hay horn so much, both the word and the idea and the hook. You need to do that. And I just really enjoyed everything that we talked about today as well. I wrote down the ladder reference as well. I think that's really interesting to have that perspective when you have a long time to plan. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the great combination of having self-driving cars and the car sharing. So the car comes to you. I mean, people are talking about self-driving taxis, but in this case, it's different. It's still a car that slowly comes up to you, and then you take the car and drives away. I got some pictures in my head. So
I think we invented that here. So, you know, we all have a share in it now.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Can we have 1% of the sales?
When and if and when and if. Yeah.
So great to have you here, David, as always.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.